I told y'all Donald Trump only wants white immigrants. The attack on Haitians is because they're black. He called African nations shithole countries. It's because they're black. This is what it's all about. So what is he doing? Literally, yesterday, on a State Department plane, they flew in families, white Afrikaners, so-called, oh my goodness, Trump saying they're facing persecution. You got Carolyn Levitt. She's on the White House. She's up there lying about them as well, and them coming in, welcoming them to the country. Folks, utterly shameful and despicable. Okay, and that's what you got going on. Now, remember they were all talking about the Great Replacement Theory? Well, that's what this is. So what Trump is saying, hey, we're going to sit here and we're going to run out all of these, all of these black and brown people, but hey, we're going to import some white people. And here is the Trump Deputy Secretary of State greeting these Afrikaners, and I'm going to play some other stuff where he praised them for their long history of being great people. I want y'all just listen to this question and answer.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to know, there were many, from the BBC, there are many people who fit the criteria of seeking help, who are fleeing persecution. Afghans, for example, I mean, they live in a country run by the Taliban, but they're being denied refugee status. So I'm wondering, why has such an exception been made for the Afrikaans, especially when the South African government says they're not in danger? And are you going to open up the refugee settlement program for others?
Thank you for that question. I think you may recall that on the president's first day in office, on January 20th of this year, he issued an executive order that paused U.S. refugee programs that had been going at record levels under the prior administration, and had brought in people that we were not sure had been carefully vetted for national security issues, and put a pause on the refugee admission program in general. That pause, of course, was subject from the very beginning to exceptions where it was determined that this would be in the interest of the United States. Some of the criteria are making sure that refugees did not pose any challenge to our national security and that they could be assimilated easily into our country. So the president on February 7th issued an executive order about the egregious conditions in South Africa, and all of these folks who have just come in today have been carefully vetted pursuant to our refugee standards. And whether or not the broader refugee programs for other people around the world will be lifted is still an ongoing consideration. But again, the president has recognized the dire situation of this particular group of people, and again, they went through the.
Basically, what he's saying is, they're white. Now, the South African president, he's pushing back hard on this nonsense, granting refugee status to 59 white Afrikaners. Cyril Ramaphosa calls the move, quote, deeply concerning, and insists these individuals do not meet the internationally recognized definition of refugees. Despite the U.S. welcoming them, he says most Afrikaners are not seeking to leave, that those who do are often wealthier and more secure than many black South Africans who are forced to live under hardship during apartheid. Now, also, I want y'all to keep in mind these these Afrikaners, they only represent 7% of the country. 7% of the 63 million people. Oh, but they own more than 70% of the land. Now, what's interesting is I saw this tweet from the white supremacist Charlie Kirk, and y'all gonna really love this here. Because he was touting them coming in. Now, mind you, so let me find the tweet because y'all going to get a kick out of this. because it sets up my next guest, because I need y'all to understand. Now, here's what, he was talking about, oh my goodness, how great these people can be. And, he's citing this African National Congress thing. Look at the South African Boers face systemic legal discrimination in their country. They face horrifying violence based on their skin color. A political party in their homeland openly calls for genocide. Yet, this is the key right here, y'all, yet at the same time, they are enormously talented people. They have useful skills. They're very close to America culturally. America can integrate them with minimal difficulty, and they will immediately start adding to America's wealth rather than subtracting. They are, without exaggeration, ideal immigrants for this country. John Boyd is president of the National Black Farmers Association. And John, this is what this is about. What they're saying is, wait a minute, these white folks, they could come in and start farming.
Yes. And Roland, thank you for staying on this real sore topic for me. They brought them in and greeted them. And these are, I want to be very, very clear. They say white Africans. These are white farmers and their families that they welcome into this country. And when did they welcome black people into this country? I asked you that question. We came in the belly of slave ships and chains and shackles. They flew them in on a government plane, and the Virginia governor, shame on him, helped them fly into Dulles, Virginia to greet these 59 families. And they're going to provide a resettlement for these people. I want to be very, very clear. Blacks we never got our 1.5 million acres out of federal inventory that came from black farmers in this country. And they're bringing them into this country, going to provide them with a pathway to citizenship. They're going to give them the tools and all this stuff necessary to make it in the United States, things that they've never done. They never provided a homestead, Roland, in this country for black people, but they're going to do it for white South African farmers based on race. The whole thing this president campaigned on when he said he wanted to do away with DEI because it was race-based and all of this stuff. They want to do away with programs to help blacks in this country, but you want to bring white farmers in, provide them with a pathway to citizenship.
But also housing, food, diapers, like all of this stuff. And I'm sorry, roll the video, y'all, roll the video. It doesn't look like these people are lacking. I mean, they're coming off the planes with headphones and suitcases. These folks, these ain't no true refugees.
And Roland, they came from farms, probably, and some of these farms are better shape than the many black farmers here in this country where they came from. They own 75% of the land in South Africa. So here the president talking about they face reverse discrimination, and it was genocide. All these words that they use, things that they never defined in this country for black people, and certainly slavery fits that sharecropping and Jim Crow. All of these things fit that definition in this country, but they never said anything about helping our black farmers or helping us get our land out of federal inventory. These are things that need to be raised while they're bringing these white farmers in with no pushback. I didn't see anybody pushing back there at that press conference, asking the real hard questions about black farmers in this country. They face discrimination, people. It's historic, decade-long discrimination. I've been spat on, Roland, and by my own government here. I've been called a nigger and 2 or 3 times by my own federal government right here in the United States. I had my land, my farm put in federal inventory right here in my country. And when I watched them bring white farmers in, solely by race, and going to give them a path to citizenship, where my forefathers had to fight even to vote in this country, man, it's hard to look at.
Morgan, Shawn Row, the presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church, sent this statement out He said that virtually no new refugees have arrived. Hundreds of staff and resettlement agencies around the country have been laid off, and funding for resettling refugees who've already arrived has been uncertain. Then, just over 2 weeks ago, the federal government informed Episcopal Migration Ministries that under the terms of our federal grant, we are expected to resettle white Afrikaners from South Africa whom the U.S. government has classified as refugees. In light of our church's steadfast commitment to racial justice and reconciliation and our historic ties with the Anglican Church of Southern Africa, we are not able to take this step. Accordingly, we have determined that by the end of the federal fiscal year, we will conclude our refugee resettlement grant agreements with the U.S. federal government. Morgan?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty powerful statement. And I think, one of the things that, let's just say first, what's very sad about this is we have a lot of people around the world who truly do need the support of the U.S. government, the resources that we have, and the ability to escape persecution. And that's what a lot of these organizations, as he laid out, were created to support. And a lot of that infrastructure, here in Columbus, I mean, we have so many different communities, Somali, Russian Jewish communities that were designated as refugees that have made their home in Central Ohio. And once you have that infrastructure, then you're able to use it to support different communities. So I think that's one thing I would note is just the closing up of that infrastructure and the organizations that have supported those settlement services not being able to continue. You can't just turn that back on necessarily, once there's a change in administration and more resources might come. And so that's a risk here. The other point, though, as we've been talking about is, how this administration is defining refugee clearly is not connected to the reality of how most people think of that term and how it has been implemented in the past. I think one of the political complications around this, and I would love to hear more, from John here, is that part of what, and this is getting back to our earlier conversation too, I mean, part of what is making this, I don't think palatable is the right word, but that they feel licensed to make these types of moves is because they feel like they're operating on some kind of mandate from that election, that there was discontent with how many resources were going towards immigrant refugee communities versus people who have been in this country for a long time. And so I guess, John, as you're having conversations with people, or in this moment where you're thinking about how to push back on some of these policies or looking ahead to what you want to see, prioritized by a different administration, how do you wrestle with that? I think especially in the Black community, where we've heard from I know I've heard directly from people that are frustrated with how many resources have been going to support refugees from all backgrounds. And, and this is just the latest example of that. Not a position I agree with, but it is a position that I have heard.
Right. And the first thing that the administration came in to do was stop the food aid programs directly that went to South Africa that helped many native black families there. The second thing is I'm looking for an attorney or law firm that can file an injunction in federal court to stop this. I don't think they should be allowed to come to this country and get services and all of these things that are not allowed, and we haven't been able to get in this country as Black farmers. Mm-hmm. And the second thing is they say they want to do away with any type of help. We were told from Wells Fargo, Roland, that we can't even apply because we're trying to help Black farmers here. So they're shutting down all these programs in our country, but yet and still they're doing this solely based on race, white farmers. And I want to challenge that in federal court. So if anybody that's watching this show tonight that got the galls and guts enough to represent us in federal court, I want to hear from them. That's the first thing. And this administration wants to cut off food and cut off resources to blacks around the world is what they're doing. And that's why they quickly went in and cut out the money. And this is by design, people. It's designed by Elon Musk, Stephen Miller. He's the architect behind it. And when they want to test something, they throw Stephen Miller out there. We want to do away with the KPIA stuff and all of this stuff. They just want to do away with it. And they put him out there to test the waters. And then they see how it goes. And then they put up with some executive order. It's crazy, and it needs to be dealt with. And we need an uprising in this country, Roland. And guess what, man? I want to say this to Roland Martin because he was the sole microphone that warned Black America just how bad Trump could be. It was you, Roland, that waved that horn every day, and many people weren't listening to it. So now you have to listen and bear the burden of the real effect of what's happening to us.
And we were trying to tell them that this was about whiteness. Donald Trump, the last time he was there, Mustafa, he literally said, hey, why can't we get people? I think it was from Finland or something like that. He wanted white people. That's what he wanted. He wanted blonde-haired, blue-eyed white people. The attacks on the Haitians is because they were black. And the people in Springfield, Ohio who were upset, it's because they were black immigrants. And people need to understand this. I laid all this out in my book. I said it. That's why it's called White Fear, how the browning of America is making white folks lose their minds. If they could import 5 million white people, they would do this every single day.
I mean, without a doubt. I mean, you know, for the last couple of years when I would be on the show, I would talk about apartheid-esque types of actions that were going on. And people would be like, Mustafa, what are you talking about? And I was like, all you have to do is look at the blueprint that they used in South Africa and how this administration has been utilizing many of those same sets of actions. So now they put it right here in your face. He talks about America first. If it was truly America first, then our black farmers would have been taken care of, like John and my grandfather and so many others, you know, whether larger or medium-sized farms or small farms have been trying their best to be able to get justice and to be able to have an equal playing field. But an equal playing field is not a part of the supremacy sets of actions that we have currently going on, because we're seeing it play out right now before your eyes. You're seeing the fast tracking of visas and subsidies. They might as well just gave folks a gift basket. Maybe they did. That they talk about the vetting. You know, it's really interesting when they talk about the vetting. I'm really concerned with what they're actually doing in this space, because originally it was supposed to be 49 folks coming and then 59 folks got off the plane. So somebody evidently didn't do a good job in relationship to vetting. And I know a little bit about that. When it comes to black and brown folks, whether you're from Venezuela, the Congo, Syria, Afghanistan, or Myanmar, he doesn't see value in you being a refugee in this in this country, and are trying to find ways of sending you back or to stop individuals from coming from those countries that are having wars, civil wars. They're having political issues that are going on. They have coups that are going on. They've got real issues that this country should be taking seriously, should be inviting those folks. But we find ourselves in this moment where people have taken off the hood. Let me say that again for the people who are slow, who are watching, who took off the hood and are showing you exactly who they are. So we have to keep putting a spotlight on it. You've got to also make sure that you're reaching out to folks up on Capitol Hill and asking them, what are you doing in this moment? Because if you say that you are elected by the American people, but I don't see you necessarily doing the steps that are necessary to protect them and to uplift them and to make sure that they get their just due. But that's the moment that we find ourselves in.
So I want to play this here, John. This is a clip from that same State Department official, but I want you to hear what he actually says to them in greeting these folks. Listen.
Welcome. Welcome to the United States of America. It is such an honor for us to receive you here today. This is the land of the free, and we know that all of you have faced... I'm Chris Landau. First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm the Deputy Secretary of State of the United States. This is my friend Troy Edgar.
Yeah, I'm the Deputy Secretary of Homeland Security. And again, welcome. So great to have you guys here.
I know you've gone through a long flight. I cannot believe there are babies and children who are actually so well behaved. This is much better than mine are. So bless you for that. And, you know, I think It makes me so happy to see you with our flag in your hands, and that flag symbolizes liberty for so many of us. Many of us, our families, have had a journey not that different from the journey that you are embarking on today. My own father was born in Europe and had to leave his country when Hitler came in the 1930s, and made his way to South America first and then eventually to the United States. So he is an immigrant who actually, was able to benefit from the many blessings of this country. And one of the reasons that I really wanted to go and work for the government is because I wanted to give back to this country that really brought freedom to my family and allowed us to escape a very difficult situation in another country. So, I know that this is going to be, any adjustment in life, any change takes a while to get used to. But I want you all to know.
What the hell?
Roland, that's the time we're living in right there, where you roll out the carpet for white farmers that coming from South Africa. They had a big press conference and welcomed them to this country. And anybody of darker skin of immigrant in this country, they're chasing them out by the busload and the boatload here. That's the reality. And they keep saying it's not about race. I watched the president when they asked him about it, and he said, these just happen to be white farmers that they're bringing in to help. That's the whole initiative with this whole administration. They simply want to help white people in this country, and that's not the America that we're living in, man. You got people look like me, look like you. We got to live here too. That's the problem right there, Roland. You can't just come out here and say you're going to do that and don't expect to face some pushback. And it also should be a bell ringer for us as Black Americans, man. We got to reorganize. We got to come together. If you can't come together now in this country with all of this white bigotry and hatred towards Black people, man, there's something wrong with us. We need unity right now to band together, start buying food from each other, from Black farmers, start doing business with Blacks, because this administration clearly does not want us. And that's what they're showing us here.
This is, Morgan, this is the clip here that John was referring to. Listen to the liar in chief, the idiot in chief, Donald Trump.
Who claim discrimination in their home country are heading to the United States, right, where your administration is going to welcome them as refugees. Now, this comes as you've halted virtually all refugee admissions for people fleeing famine and war from countries like Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Why are you creating an expedited path into the country for Hondurans but not others?
Because they're being killed, and we don't want to see people be killed. Now, South Africa leadership is coming to see me, I understand, sometime next week. And, we're supposed to have I guess a G20 meeting there or something. But we're having a G20 meeting. I don't know how we can go unless that situation's taken care of. But it's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about. But it's a terrible thing that's taking place. And farmers are being killed. They happen to be white. But whether they're white or Black makes no difference to me. But white farmers are being brutally killed, and their land is being confiscated in South Africa.
He's straight lying. There's no genocide. They're not being killed. He is a liar.
Yes. And go ahead.
Yeah, these are just lies. And, it's not even remotely funny, because as that reporter pointed out, there are deadly conflicts going on in other parts of Africa, not South Africa, that are hurting, I'm sure, farmers and all sorts of other people in Sudan, the Congo. And so the fact that we're not going to be providing resources for them, that doesn't seem like it's something that matters to the president of the United States in this moment is very, very upsetting and scary, to be honest. I mean, this level of lying. This does get back, though, to our earlier conversation. One other thing I was going to add, because, I know the books about Biden can seem, and I agree, not a great use of time or energy to be spending a lot of time on the retrospective. But I do think one of the things that creates the opening for that makes it more challenging to call out some of these lies is that, they're kind of able to turn and, oh, well, Democrats are liars too, right? That's a phrase we hear a lot. And to the extent that there were people that maybe knew things about whatever, Biden or not, I don't personally care that much. It's not necessarily and certainly the big issue of the day, but just saying, like, in a world where most people aren't paying attention, where there's a lot of different information coming at people, these are the types of inconsistencies that I think do facilitate just the rapid fire of lies coming out of Trump and then it not breaking through with the public. So even if we think that that's not a good use of time, I do think we have to be honest about the fact that Democrats have a trust problem with the general public, whether fair or not, and what are going to be the ways to restore that trust.
But here's the deal, though, Majid, and this is the reality. Before Biden got elected, Trump was lying. He was lying 2017, 2021. He lied. He lied when he was running, going back to 2015. So I don't care if there were people in the White House who were, concealing Joe Biden. But here's the other deal, okay? And here's the problem even with that, okay? Stories like, oh, Joe Biden may have been in a wheelchair. But then I see video of him riding bikes. I'm like, what the hell? At the end of the day, this man is lying. He is allowing white Afrikaners to come into the country under the pretense of genocide in South Africa. He's lying about farmers being killed. That's what he's lying about. And they're lying about even the land redistribution because these white folks literally stole the land. But you know what? I guess Donald Trump will never have to admit that because that's what white Europeans did in the United States.
You're right, Roland. And, when I first heard about these white South African farmers being brought over here, it was like a blatant slap in the face. It wasn't even a dog whistle. It was a bullhorn. It was a bullhorn message. Donald Trump was putting up a whites only sign on America because after everything that he had gone through and had his administration do to get rid of people of color, to deport people, even people who were here with legal standing, just getting rid of them, however he could. And now he's rolling out the red carpet for people. And as Mr. Boyd pointed out, and you pointed out as well, it is all about race, despite the fact that they say, oh, it's they just happen to be white. No. It's not that they just happen to be white. This is the reverse great replacement theory, right? They've been obsessed with this thing for years now.
Yep.
For years, they saw some data maybe a decade or two ago saying that by the year 2050, Caucasians, whites were going to be the minority race, and Latinos were going to be the majority. And so this has them obsessed with, like the whole anti-abortion thing. Yeah, they don't want to abort any more white babies. They want more white babies. Let's pay $5,000. Let's just pay you $5,000 to have some babies. And that's what it's all about. And I personally, this South African thing, I think Elon probably put a bug in Trump's ear about, because even the courts in South Africa said that story is nonsense. There's nothing legitimate about it. How hard would it be for, I'm not a reporter. I'm a guy with the social media account. How hard would it be for a reporter, a journalist, when he said that thing about their being killed, just to open your mouth and say,
but again, though,
no, they're not.
But again, though, it's the strategy. And see, and John, what I need black people to understand, what I need black people to really understand what's going on here is, and I have been saying this since the inauguration, Donald Trump, Stephen Miller, MAGA, this is about defunding black America. When you talk about the attack on the farmers, Who was the person who sued the Biden administration when it came to their settlement with Black and Hispanic farmers? It was Stephen Miller's legal group. Donald Trump said, oh, it was an illegal DEI settlement for those Black people in Lowndes County, Alabama, who had sewage being backed up into their yards. They stopped that. They stopped the settlement. They stopped the lawsuit against the petrochemical companies in Cancer Alley in Louisiana that was killing Black people. They stopped the lawsuit against the HOA in Dallas that didn't want Black people in it. They stopped the lawsuits, the HUD lawsuit. They stopped again, they are clearly targeting Black people. And I need Black people to understand that what you're seeing right here is an embracing of white Afrikaners, individuals who were absolutely racist, individuals who beat Black people. These people, and you're right, David Sachs, Peter Thiel, Elon Musk are all white South African men who grew up under apartheid, and they loved that particular system. And what we also cannot forget, there was this country, it was two countries. Okay, Israel was selling them weapons, but this country, the United States, stood steadfast with the white apartheid regime. It was Ronald Reagan who vetoed the sanctions bill, and he was overwritten by Congress because Republicans were even aghast at that. It was Black people, the Polaroid revolutionary workers, who launched the divestment campaign because it was Polaroid that made the passbooks. It looked like passports that Black people had to carry around to show their proof of citizenship. So I need Black people today to not act like this is no big deal, that 59 white Afrikaners are being let in by Donald Trump. What we are seeing right now from this administration is an all-out assault on Black people.
Yes, and Roland, maybe you tore it up. And I want to make a more direct nail, with the hammer here. $5 billion that I worked 30 years to get in this country. I had to go through acts of Congress and marching and lawsuits. We finally get it. Stephen Miller and that bunch organized white farmers to sue us and organization and stuff in federal court and block $5 billion to Black and other farmers of color in this country because they say it left out white farmers is what their sole argument was. And Roland, they sued us in all these federal courts in Florida and Texas, and that we had to raise money and come on your show and ask for help, all of these things. They done it because it was the money's the $5 billion was going to go to Black and other farmers of color. Now they say, they say you can't do that. You can't pay the $5 billion because it's solely based on race. That's what the argument was in federal court. Now they want to bring white farmers. I'm gonna keep saying it until somebody starts calling it what it is, and their families into the United States, and help them, give them a path to citizenship. And what it says on this executive order, it says right here, refugee resettlement is what they want to do. Resettlement and other initiatives. That means money and land and all of these things. They're going to bring them to this country and provide that to them solely based on their whiteness. I'm going to use your word, Roland, white farmers, but they won't do it for Blacks in this country. They won't return our land out of inventory, but they want to give it to white South African farmers. They want to give them Native American lands or grazing lands from the Department of Interior, and they want to give them land out of federal inventory. That's what I heard, Roland, from the United States Department of Agriculture that came from Black farmers. And I'm going to tell you right now, on your show, Roland, I said it, I would die over my land for anybody who don't know how serious I am about this movement. I would die over my land because the way that my forefathers got it, man, they had to scuffle, they cheated them and done everything they could. And they were able to hold on and hit these people and take your land and give it to white South African farmers. I say no. And guess what? Now, I'm going to use Grandma Ruth's line here, Roland. She would say, you keep on doing bad. There's a stick sitting up out yonder with your name on it. There's a stick sitting out yonder with Donald Trump's name on it. And if he keeps doing wrong, he's going to step on it.
Yep.
Just give him time, bro. He's going to step on that stick that Grandma Ruth is talking about.
All right, John Boy, keep up the fight. We'll do it as well.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.